It's Jeff McDonald, lead Spurs writer for the San Antonio Express News. He joins us now. He's been covering the team since 2007. All right, Jeff, how did we get to this point with Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs?
You know, it sort of became almost a snowball that was rolling downhill that I guess people didn't realize the snowball was rolling until it was rolling. And then by the time you kind of realized it was an avalanche. But I think really the disagreement, I guess, or the rift would be about his rehab from a quad injury that really dates back to the season before last. And, you know, he wasn't, I guess, happy or satisfied with the treatment he was getting from the team medical staff. And so he and his camp took that into their own hands beginning in August of last year. And it just never got better, and it led to some frustration on the team side because they weren't really getting the information they thought. You know, they were basically out of the loop on, you know, their franchise player, and there's really been just distrust sown on both sides of the issue, and nothing has really happened to close that gap. And in fact, it seems to be widening, and that's sort of where we get to where we are now. As recently as March, he was still telling people he was planning on playing last season. He was even his camp was giving specific dates that he planned to be back on the floor, and then those dates would come and go. And his teammates were getting kind of flummoxed by the whole deal because, hey, Kawhi said he was going to play this game. Now he's not playing. Where is he? He's in New York rehabbing. He's not even in San Antonio. And so there's this distrust and discord on each side, and then you start to look at it from the Spurs perspective. They grew suspicious that perhaps this isn't even really about the quad at all, but it's a way for his camp to get him out of San Antonio altogether, to get him to a bigger market. And that's sort of where we are today, where it appears that he is asking to be shipped out of San Antonio.
Who has leverage here?
That is an excellent question. I think both sides sort of have a little bit of leverage when you're talking about a trade because, you know, Kawhi can, you know, his contract is he can opt out of not this season but next season, 2 seasons from now. So if a team is going to trade for him and give up assets for him and great assets for him, they're going to want some assurances that he's going to sign with them long term. So when you hear people say, well, they should trade him to Phoenix for the number 1 overall pick and Josh Jackson, well, does Phoenix want to give an overall pick and Josh Jackson for a guy they're going to have for basically 1 year, or probably going to have for 1 year? Well, probably not. So Kawhi has a little leverage that way. But if Kawhi only wants to go to the Lakers, the Spurs are under no obligation to only trade him to the Lakers. I mean, they can trade him to wherever they can get the best deal, and it's sort of a you know, how does it balance? Because you're going to get better assets from a team where Kawhi might conceivably want to play long term as opposed to where he could play short term. So I think both sides have a little bit of leverage when it comes to a trade.
Yeah, Jeff, if I'm the Spurs, why would I gift wrap something to the Lakers if I thought Paul George and LeBron James were going to? I don't want to have Kawhi haunt me in a variety of ways, including, you know, on a more frequent basis if he's still in the Western Conference. So why do we just assume? I know he wants to go to Los Angeles, but why do we just assume that, you know, that deal could happen with the Lakers and Spurs?
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's definitely part of the calculus there. And the other thing is, I'm not positive the Lakers can give the best package of picks and players. I think when you're the Spurs, if you're going to trade Kawhi Leonard, obviously you're not going to get a top 5 player for him at this point. So what you're looking for probably is some package of a guy or guys could plausibly be considered future stars, future all-stars, plus a lottery pick. The Lakers don't have picks. Their first-round pick is actually worse than the number 18 that the Spurs have this year, and I don't believe the Lakers have a first-round pick at all next year. So if the Spurs are looking for picks, the Lakers aren't really going to be able to put together a package that would entice them. But I also think if the Lakers, if there's no other market for him, if the Spurs can't get what they're looking for from Boston or Philly or someone else that, you know, hasn't really been mentioned, you got to trade him to where you can get the best players. And if it makes the Lakers better for a while, it makes the Lakers better for a while. I think if you trade Kawhi Leonard, probably at this point, and you're the Spurs, you're not a title contender anymore anyway. So what real difference does it make if other teams are? I mean, I think if you're the Spurs, you've got to do the best you can do to get the most you can get back. I just don't think the Lakers are going to be that team. I mean, they might be, but I don't think they're going to be.
How long do you think Pop would last with Lonzo/LeVar Ball?
I think if that trade were made on Monday, Pop would retire on Tuesday. We'll probably see what happens. But they've dealt a little of this with Kawhi. Has been dealing with his uncle, a guy called Dennis Robertson, who's basically Kawhi's. It's not his agent. He has an agent, but it's his business advisor. But Dennis Robertson is the one that's basically running Kawhi's affairs right now, and there's definitely a disconnect between him and Pop and R.C. Buford. I mean, the way I've described Dennis Robertson to people, he's sort of like LeVar Ball, except without all the publicity. You've never heard of him, but behind the scenes, he's that kind of demanding character, and that relationship hasn't worked out well between him and the Spurs brass for sure.
How long is Pop going to do this?
That's an excellent question too that people have been asking for a long time, and I think everyone assumed he's taken over Team USA in 2020, and we always assumed that was going to be the transition out of the NBA. What's sort of thrown a wild card into everything is the personal tragedy that he went through during the playoffs and losing his wife, and we don't really know, where he is right now in terms of next season. From what I've heard, he's recently started to re-engage in the, day-to-day business of the Spurs, kind of the normal day-to-day off-season stuff. They were out so early this year in April that normally that up until about a couple of weeks ago, he would have been kind of on vacation and out of the loop anyway. So I have heard that he's sort of starting to re-engage with the team, and I believe at this point they're expecting him to continue. And if that's true, I think we go back to the other timetable where he's transitioning into that Team USA role in 2020, and so maybe he takes a year off before that to kind of calibrate himself. Maybe he goes right into it, but I don't see. This is just kind of me guessing and me talking, but I don't really see him being the coach of the Spurs and coaching in the Olympics at the same time. He could do it if he wanted to. There's no rule against it. It just seems natural to me that would be the transition point. And he's going to be 70 this season. I mean, he's getting to that age where you have to think about it anyway. I remember he used to talk about Jerry Sloan all the time. I mean, Jerry Sloan was his idol, but he was like, I'm never going to be a lifer like Jerry Sloan. I'm never going to do that. That sounds horrible. And then all of a sudden we're at age 70 and he's still going. So, I think the end is near, but I'm not sure it's this season.
All right, I'll leave you with this, Jeff. Best case scenario, I'm talking to you in October. Kawhi Leonard is where?
Best case scenario?
What do you think? Yeah, what do you think is going to happen?
Most likely scenario.
Yeah, most likely.
I don't think he's on the Spurs, but at this point I couldn't guess where he is. But I think there's a chance we may know before Thursday when the draft happens. So.
Oh, really?
There's a chance. I mean, I think if you're going to trade him, you want to get in on this draft and get some of these lottery picks. So I think I don't think they will rush anything, but I think there is definitely that's one milepost you might want to look at hitting if you can do it is to get up there in the top 10 of this draft because it's a pretty top-heavy draft.
Well, maybe I don't wait till October to talk to you, Jeff. Maybe I'm talking to you on Friday.
That's all right. Call me back.
Thank
you.
Be around. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate your time. That's Jeff McDonald, the lead Spurs beat writer for the San Antonio Express News.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.